Hello, and welcome to the Angus and Pete Show. Views and opinions are strictly those of the presenters and their guests and should not be taken as advice. Goodness knows, we're not qualified to advise you about anything. Side effects may include mild amusement and occasional enlightenment with feelings of embarrassment, apathy, disappointment, and pity.
Welcome to episode 23. I'm Angus Pacey.
And I'm Pete Brown, and we are the Angus and Pete Show.
The place where you can listen to two guys chatting about the riveting world of customer engagement.
You know, customer engagement, otherwise known as call centre, contact centre, customer service, customer experience, CX, or whatever else you're calling it this week.
And if you want to know about us, then check us out on LinkedIn.
Angus, did we get any communication from the outside world this week? Anything in the postbag?
Yes, we did get a couple of things, literally two, which were interesting. One was the CFO who got in touch to say our last episode was pretty good. The one that we did about what makes financial people tick. And he said it was pretty accurate. He liked it.
Okay, good.
He also volunteered to be a CFO that comes on the show as a CX insider, which should be really interesting.
Okay, that's one to listen out for. Good. What else?
The second one is we got Charlotte from Brussels. She
Okay.
said, I've checked you guys out on LinkedIn and follow the show page.
She's followed the show page.
Yeah.
Excellent. More people should do that, listeners. Go and follow our page on LinkedIn. End of shameless promotion.
She said, I am a CX seller and look at LinkedIn a lot, but don't really know how to get the best out of it.
Hmm.
Why don't you guys do an episode on LinkedIn for dummies? The one thing I'd say is that we're not experts, but I'm sure we can go and find an expert and bring them on as an insider.
Charlotte, we'll go and see if we can find a LinkedIn expert. Watch this space.
So what are we going to talk about? I think I've got an idea for this week. A couple of weeks ago, I came across a post on my newsfeed on LinkedIn, and it was about an academic study from Denmark.
Right. Is that going to be interesting enough for our listeners? An academic study from Denmark isn't lighting my fire at the moment. Please continue.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say something like that. Now, normally I don't read these types of papers, but this one caught my eyes. It is a beefy document, I will tell you. The study is called Large Language Models, Small Labour Market Effects.
Blimey.
So it looked at how AI chatbots affect jobs. So effectively what we're talking about, time savings, are there headcount cost savings, things like that. And they surveyed a number of workers and organizations in Denmark over 2023 and 2024. So
Okay.
It's not right up to date, but it's not that old. What's more interesting to me is that they talked to 25,000 workers in 7,000 workplaces across Denmark, covering 11 different job roles. So, yes, it's only one country, but that's quite a large sample size.
Those workers, were they agents in contact centres, those 25,000 people?
Not all of them.
Okay.
They looked at multiple different roles, but they definitely looked at agents. Customer service workers is what they called them.
Okay, fine. So not necessarily the traditional contact centre agent, but customer service, customer engagement type roles.
Yeah. What they found was, even although many companies are using AI, it did not change how much money the workers made from a salary perspective or how many hours that they work.
Okay.
So if you go back, one of the topics that everybody was talking about is AI going to take my job? Are we going to lose those roles? What they discovered was that AI chatbots do save a little bit of time, but it also created new tasks. So it created work for the customer service agents. And their overall conclusion was that these findings go against what the market was thinking, that AI was going to massively change the job market. The other thing that it said is that it came to the conclusion that you're going to have to throw money at this problem. You're going to have to spend a lot of money in order to really see the economic benefits.
Do you know what? I'm not that surprised by this, because we've had a couple of conversations now about AI specifically in the CX and contact center space. And automation has been a thing that we've been doing for many, many years. And I've said to you on a couple of occasions, it's just doing what we're already doing a little more effectively and a little more efficiently, which sort of is backed up by what you just said. Not much is really changing for the worker. And actually, not much is really changing for the business either.
The study kind of showed two things, that customer service workers using chatbots saved around 3.9% of their work hours, which is minuscule. But what was very interesting is said without employers encouraging them to use AI, the savings dropped to around 2%.
Okay.
The other thing that was interesting is that they looked at work quality and creativity, being creative in solving problems, that sort of stuff. They came back with a metric that said 57.2. So let's say 57, 60% of the customer service workers said AI improved the quality of their work. Slightly less said it made them more creative. Now, these improvements might lead to happier customers and quicker solutions, but they said it may benefit the business financially later on. It's not going to be an immediate benefit. So what I took out of this one when I was reading it was like all these percentages that are being bandied around.
Yeah.
Being able to really quantify them for a business benefit and then down the line work this into a business case is going to be really tricky.
Yeah. We spoke in the last episode about the importance of keeping your messages real and relatable and all your assumptions realistic. Flashing big numbers around in terms of business benefit is a really dangerous thing because financial benefit to business is questionable when it comes to AI right now.
Let's be honest, this is only one study and it's only one country, but take the sample size and the depth of this paper's research, it's signposting some real things here.
It does support what I'm seeing and hearing around the place anyway. The CX contact center vendors out there have got their AI stuff, and I'm still yet to see 6 months, 9 months after we first brought it up in our early AI episodes, some real, tangible, game-changing applications for AI in contact center and CX that aren't really just better versions of the automation that was going on in the first place.
So what they said is that workers absolutely see more benefits when the employers push for AI use. And when that encouragement was in place, the results showed that it almost doubled the time savings. You're still minuscule, 2% to 3.9%. And in this study, 30% of the workers got training on AI and about 40% used their own AI. What this paper showed is that just having AI isn't enough. Companies need to invest in support and training for the people that are going to be using that AI. You can't just turn it on and expect it to happen instantly.
So just to get this into perspective, I've just gone on to ChatGPT and asked it what 2% of 8 hours is, assuming an 8-hour day, and it is the grand total of 9 minutes and 36 seconds. So you're basically getting between 10 and 20 minutes of benefit. So there we go. There's a business case on a knife edge. I guess we're going to talk about how much all this stuff costs in a minute, are we, Angus?
Now, I think you think about the costs, but also some of the claims that everybody's making. When I read this, I thought, okay, right, what are all the different vendors and organizations and the analysts saying about this? And does that actually line up with what this paper said? And that was a year and a half after AI was introduced. There's no proof that companies that have more AI deployed have changed the number of people that they've deployed or how much they pay them. So this kind of drives that AI is not causing big changes in the workforce or how they pay it. So I think, everybody that's really concerned about this, hold your horses. I think the jury's still out.
But if you're looking at cutting labour costs or directly increasing productivity, the study seems to show that there isn't any clear data or clear evidence to support that that's actually happening. And AI may save a little time and improve work quality, but it requires employers to be very prescriptive and very supportive to get their workers to A, use it, and B, understand why, I guess. So there's a whole education piece going on around there.
I was reading other articles, and one of the articles said that there seems to be quite a bit of evidence now coming out from large enterprises that the deployments are getting stuck in the pilot phases.
Yeah.
So they're doing all the tests, they're doing the pilot phases, but they're not seeing mass scale rollouts yet.
So that's all very interesting, and it sort of sounds like we're raining on AI's parade a little bit, aren't we? I'm quite cynical, right? I'm of an age where cynicism just comes very naturally. So I'm waiting for it to really deliver the changes that it's promised. But in the meantime, sellers have got to be careful about what they say. Now is not the time for glib statements and overselling of business benefit using percentages.
I went and did a quick Google on the web to go, right, can I find use cases, deployment scenarios, and some claims that are being made? And I found a couple of good examples, and some of them are quite eye-watering. So the one was about AI-enhanced workforce management and automation. So customers are using AI-driven scheduling and agent assist tools to streamline workflows.
Right.
One of the vendors came out with a Forrester TEI study that found a 33% reduction in average handle time and a 20% increase in tasks handled per agent per day, with agent satisfaction and retention jumping 163%.
Is that an improvement using AI on the existing system, or is that an improvement based on implementing the new system altogether?
But it's not the only one, Pete. Hold on, there's some better ones. So we talk about tools that help the agent. So one of them has a next best action AI brain deployed. Okay. And this personalizes upsell and service offers. So this is in contact center that's selling stuff. That's a revenue generator.
So this is on the desktop in front of the agent, basically helping, advising, guiding the agent on what to do next to maximize cross-sell and upsell when they're actually talking to a live customer.
Yeah. So this is voice channel, probably outbound, something like that.
Yeah.
They said early results showed somewhere around 20% higher sales and 30% higher conversion rates on recommended actions. And they make the claim, this illustrates how AI-driven recommendations can boost customer spend and revenue.
Wow.
These are big numbers that they're coming up with.
What's the current state? If the current state is a shit show of poorly trained agents selling nothing, then it's not actually difficult to do that, is it?
No.
But if you're in a high-performing organisation and you can do that, then that's wow factor stuff. So it's all about the context, right? It's all about the detail, and there isn't detail in it. It's just some high-level one-liners based on early results.
Yeah. A couple of calculations have been done on the back of a fag packet.
Or cigarette packet, if you're across the pond.
Another one was that the customer uses AI agent assistant to surface answers in real time. So it presents answers to questions. They came back with cut average handling time by 20% and halved the agent onboarding time by automating the FAQs and guidance during calls. They said that. The other thing that came out was improved knowledge access, raised customer satisfaction. Now, my experience, and you've heard me talk about cases where we've plugged into contact centers and watched agents tab surfing across multiple different systems. So this one is in the realm of plausible, to your point, if they're dealing with a shit show in the beginning anyway.
Yes. It does seem to be the unspoken thing here. If your current state is high performing, then I would really doubt the validity of those numbers. If your current state is poor, then yeah, fill your boots. But then there's some basic screen popping, some basic re-architecting of your desktop. And I'm just interested to know really how much this stuff costs, because that's what it comes down to, right? I said it before. Are we replacing the most expensive thing in the contact center, an agent, with something else that's even more expensive and is doing roughly the same job? What are we doing?
Yeah, because I mean, I pulled out 3 or 4 other use cases, and the one thing that came out consistently is the number 20% and the number 30%. Some of them go up to 50%. So they big promises. Salespeople understand where they are now, understand their context before you go start promising all these benefits. Because if you don't understand them, you could paint yourself into a mega corner.
In our world of contact center and CX, there are platform licensing, vendor fees. What have you found out about the way that vendors are charging? How much is this going to cost me, Angus? How much is it going to cost me to get those astronomical uplifts in efficiency and customer satisfaction that you've promised me?
20 to 30%. How much does that cost? I think this goes kind of to our business case. It goes to what we were saying about understand what you mean when you talk about return on investment. If you go and look at it, and I'm going to talk in dollars, generally between $120 and $200 per agent, the platforms themselves. $200 per agent per month. That's roughly what it's going to cost.
Okay.
That gives you quite a sexy platform. So,
Yeah, okay.
you're not doing basic ACD stuff here. But you start adding advanced AI features, those costs goes up. And that's where it starts diverging between different providers, because some of them charge on usage. Some of them, if you look at voice, that varies quite wildly between kind of 50 cents and $1.75 per minute.
Wow.
Or you paying pennies per text. It might be 1 or 3 pence per text sending out on different channels. But then when you get to generative AI and speech analytics and all those sorts of things, then you're paying on usage. And that becomes more difficult to compare because that's complex. There's always a fixed fee of some sort, and then there are lots of variable costs. I've seen vendors charge for interactions, and also I've seen vendors start charging for API usage as well. So there are fixed and variable costs, which are significant.
So our CFO is going to love all this, isn't he? This, not only has he got a whole lot of money to invest and spend, it seems like an extreme version of the as a service model in terms of cost visibility. He can't really see what's coming.
Well, when you can't see it, the other thing is it creates a job for somebody to watch what's happening so that they can head it off for the past. Otherwise, the finance guys are going to have real fun.
Maybe that someone is an AI person, and I think we had a whole episode about the dangers of AI marking its own homework, didn't we?
Some charge per session, some charge per agent, real-time transcription, sentiment analysis, or any of those things have got usage limits and can have hidden costs. So it is expensive and it's difficult to predict.
Well, we've rambled on about what licensing and platform costs might look like. We haven't even spoken about implementation and integration. There's a real minefield here, because integrating, your traditional old voice-based contact center with a bit of CTI and screen popping and whatnot was a minefield for a lot of people. This is just adding a whole load of complexity on top of that. Setting up AI potentially requires a lot of one-time investment when it comes to making it work with your existing CRM systems and customizing how it operates for different call types and different customer types, and a whole new layer of tailoring and customization. It needs some configuration, right? AI just doesn't get itself out of the box and start working. So what does the cost of implementation and integration look like? Or is it just a bottomless pit waiting to happen?
Well, it could be a bottomless pit, because if you think about the standard world for AI, we got quite good at estimating what the setup costs were.
Yeah.
We had a decade plus of history and projects to baseline the stuff on. So you could predict if the cost of the licenses was X, you knew that this percentage roughly would be what it cost to deploy. For a simple one or a complex one, it went up by a little bit more. Now I think on the AI stuff, custom AI projects, I've seen estimates that go from $50,000 to $300,000.
This all comes back to your current state. If your current IT, if your current infrastructure, if your current systems are a train wreck, then you've got to clean all of that up and get it all fit for purpose before you AI it.
Project management, Where are you going to find the skills that are experienced in doing this, and how much are they going to cost? AI people right now that really know what they're doing, and they're probably few and far between, are not cheap. So there are going to be a lot of one-time expenses that are going to come in.
So, and here's my personal favourite topic at the moment when it comes to AI, and that is data. I've been talking to some people at some of the organisations that clean data, historical data and real-time data. They are seeing a huge demand from organisations who have got ancient, duplicated, crappy, inaccurate, awful data. And they've tried to stand it up on AI, and they've realised that their data pool isn't good enough, particularly when it's commercially sensitive, information about individuals, information that may relate to your intellectual property. You can only use your data. And if your data isn't up to it, you've got another car crash waiting to happen. And the costs of fixing that problem will make implementation costs pale into insignificance.
And then most companies have got their data all siloed, and you've got a real problem actually pulling it together so that you can even start to clean it.
Yeah. So they've got all of that stuff going on. But what about compliance and legals and risks and all of this stuff?
If you think back, now some of the listeners might not have been working in the environment when GDPR became a thing that people started talking about. Legal reviews, all the audits, that sort of thing, was complex and expensive.
Yeah.
And one of the analysts said about 23% of large enterprises list privacy and security as the top AI issue that they are facing.
Right.
And I think we're going to go back to the early GDPR days where all the audits and the assessments and those activities around compliance and putting in tools that manage this data privacy are going to add loads of different costs, because there's so many risks from third parties and security, that monitoring that needs to happen. AI is just introducing new vulnerabilities into this ecosystem. So I think there's a very big hidden cost here.
Right.
And it's too early. We're going to see how this evolves.
Yeah. And then there's the whole piece around infrastructure and hosting. Where is my data? Where is my data center? I feel like we're being really negative about this. I feel like we're putting a whole downer on the AI opportunity that the CX and contact center market faces, but it all feels real as well. I don't think we've said anything that we can't substantiate with some facts and some information.
So I don't see it as a negative. If you understand the landscape,
Yep.
you can then look at how you address these opportunities. Don't look at them as problems, look at them as opportunities, and start thinking about how a company in the supply chain, a reseller or service provider, can start building their practice capabilities to be able to answer and address some of these problems. So I don't think we've been negative. I just think we're just pointing out the bleeding obvious.
Yeah.
And going, guys, these are problems that you need to solve, and that creates opportunities. But you've got to think about it logically. Don't just go off at a tangent and believe the first 20 to 30% statement that comes across your desk.
So I guess as a seller community, we need to up our game when it comes to understanding the context and the background of these things. And people like product managers and product marketeers really need to make sure that the information that's going out there and the context that's being given is real and realistic, and not just some bullshit made up to make the numbers fit.
Now, we've said it before in the buying cycle, features and the capability of the technology is not the be all and end all. What is more important is the operating model that makes this all happen. And I think sellers, product managers, and people that are coming up with propositions have got to really think about that operating model, because that's where it makes or breaks. Everybody's going to have the features. The features are going to take care of themselves. At some point, it'll happen. If you don't have an operating model that can really withstand this, you're knackered.
Right. Okay. So let's go to the takeaways. I guess the first takeaway is that based on that report from Denmark, and also based on our own anecdotal evidence and experiences, that right now, as we stand, AI hasn't really made a massive impact on pay and hours in the CX and contact center world.
No, so far, not so. What the study said is time saving and quality. When companies absolutely support and encourage the use of AI chatbots, there were small decreases in the amount of hours worked. So there were time savings. And now the customer service agents, like 57, 60% of them, did see better quality, and a significant slug, 40%, noticed more creativity. So there are positives out of this.
But only when the employer was making sure they understood what tools were available and motivating them to use them.
Yeah, and training them.
We spoke about this in episode 22. If you haven't listened to it, go and listen to it. The whole thing around the way that the financial community looks at these things, implementation costs, opportunity costs, all of those things come into play. You can run up some pretty massive opportunity costs getting stuck in a badly run AI project, I would imagine.
Yeah. And I think now the biggest takeaway for me is that companies have got to decide to invest in using AI. Because if they want to see the benefits, they need to spend cash on deploying AI, training the people, building that necessarily stacks in that ecosystem of technology.
Have you got an AI culture or not?
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost that black and white, right? You can't, you're either in it or you're not. Yes, you can tinker around the edges, you can do tactical things, and then you'll see the sorts of numbers that come out of that survey when it comes to, well, we might get 2% time saving benefit, and we could really ramp that up to 3.9% if we try hard. That's what happens when you do things tactically. If you make a strategic decision to implement, if you support it fully, and if you make a cultural change to optimize it, that's where you're going to get your business benefit, right?
That's probably about right. You know, right now, short term, we're only a couple of years into this, so that the evidence is not broad enough yet. But right now, it's not clear what the actual savings on labor costs are going to be, or what the impacts on the workforce structure are going to be either.
Right, okay. I'm sure we've said a few things that might be grating on some people listening to this, particularly in the vendor community. Seriously, I'd love somebody to come and talk to us about this. Come and tell us what's really going on. Are we right? Are we wrong? Come and hit the postbag and tell us what you think about that rambling conversation that we've just had about AI and the benefits thereof. In the meantime, Angus, we'll be back next time with episode 24.
Yeah, follow the Angus and Pete Show page on LinkedIn for news and notifications, and please message us directly to tell us what you want us to talk about, how we're doing, and please keep that post bag bulging.
The show is available on all your favourite podcast platforms, so please listen, like, subscribe, do what Charlotte did and follow our LinkedIn page, because that helps us feel loved and wanted and help us to spread the word. So, Angus, how are you feeling? We've done the AI thing. Was that a good episode?
I think it was interesting. I think this is what happens when you get a post on the register.
Yeah.
That was where this was posted for those of you that want to find this document. And it goes a bit viral on LinkedIn. And we ended up with a whole episode to talk about it because it was interesting.
Yeah, good. We'll do it again sometime. Cheers, Angus.
Cheers, Pete.
Thanks for tuning in to the Angus and Pete Show. Remember, it's based on the personal views and opinions of the hosts and their guests. If you're feeling aggrieved or litigious, take a chill pill. There's already enough stress in the world. Don't forget to follow our page on LinkedIn and subscribe on your favourite podcast platform for more episodes. We'll see you next time. Oh, and tell your friends.